So the list of Oscar nominations just came out, and let's talk about them. I'm not the biggest fan of award season. I know I mentioned in a few of my videos if I think that people are going to get Oscar nominations or not. The Oscars are really the only ones that I pay any sort of attention to, and I just think about it as the year goes on, just who I think might have a possibility at winning an Oscar. So I'm just going to go through the Academy's posts on Twitter, just in order, and read off what I think about him, who I think might have gotten snubbed, who I personally want to win, and who I think will win. A few of the surprises, and yeah, starting off, there was nominations for actors in a supporting role with Sterling K. Brown from American Fiction, Robert De Niro from Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. from Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling from Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo from Poor Things. I think that Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, and Ryan Gosling were shoo-ins. Those were the obvious ones that were going to at least get nominated. Sterling K. Brown surprised me, but when I saw American Fiction, one of the first things that I texted my dad was that I thought that he should get nominated. I did not think that he was going to get nominated, but I definitely thought that he should have. Robert De Niro was honestly a little surprising, but he's definitely deserving of it. I think the biggest snub, if you even want to call it that, is Charles Melton from May December. May December was a really, really, really good movie. Not 100% for me. The subject matter of it and some of the online discourse around it just pushed me away from the entire movie. Not to say that it's not an absolutely phenomenal movie, and Charles Melton is phenomenal in it. I wouldn't have minded seeing him over Sterling K. Brown in it, but again, I think that Sterling K. Brown is definitely worth the nomination. My pick is going to be Robert Downey Jr. was probably the best and probably my favorite, just how much you hated him in Oppenheimer, and he's obviously my prediction as well, though I wouldn't be too surprised if Ryan Gosling won it. Next up for costume design. Now, some of these I'm just going to go through pretty quickly. We have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Napoleon's a little bit surprising, but I do think that the costume design in that movie was pretty good. I think Barbie should win it. I think that Barbie will win it. Though I wouldn't be surprised by Poor Things. I think that some of the things that they do in that are phenomenal as well. Now for makeup and hairstyling, we have Golda, which is one of the few movies that I haven't seen. Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow, which again is another movie that I haven't seen. My prediction for this is Maestro. I think that the makeup and hairstyling in that movie are very impressive. That's one of the few things that I will give that movie a compliment for, because I was not the biggest fan of it. That's probably my pick and my prediction, though again, it's kind of like Poor Things. I wouldn't be surprised if that wins either. I'm going to skip over the short films because I haven't seen any of those. There's no reason for me to give an opinion on them, which brings me to the adapted screenplay, American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest, which I haven't gotten a chance to see, but I will be seeing it next Friday and probably have a review for it then. American Fiction was a phenomenal screenplay. Very glad that it got nominated. Oppenheimer was obvious. Poor Things, also obvious. Zone of Interest, we'll see, but I have a feeling that it will definitely be deserved. My biggest issue here is Barbie. It's not really adapted from anything outside of just the IP, just the entire idea, and it's completely original. It's completely on its own, so there's no reason for it to be really titled an adapted screenplay. And it's a good screenplay, even if you do want to call it an adapted one, but it's nowhere near as good as Killers of the Flower Moon. I think that that is by far the biggest snub from this Oscar list is Killers of the Flower Moon screenplay. I think that especially like just the ending of that movie alone should have honestly, I think it should have won Killers of the Flower Moon adapted screenplay. I think that it's probably the best adapted screenplay that we have, though. I'm going to pick Oppenheimer from this list, and I'm going to predict Oppenheimer as well, though I really think that Killers of the Flower Moon should have been bare minimum nominated and honestly should have won. Now for original screenplay, we have Anatomy of the Fall, Holdovers, Maestro, May December, and Past Lives. All of these movies are phenomenal. I think that Past Lives is a little bit overrated. It's just not... Again, it's just not 100% my cup of tea, but I'm glad that it got nominated for something. The only one that I don't think Maestro's going to win it, so it's really between The Holdovers, May December, and Anatomy of the Fall. Um, my prediction is The Holdovers. That would be my pick as well, but I am not going to be mad whatsoever if it is Anatomy of the Fall, because I think that screenplay is phenomenal. One of the most just riveting, tight scripts of the year. It's just fun. It's just a absolutely phenomenal movie. Then actress in a supporting role. This one has been getting a lot of attention. We have Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks, American Ferrera, Jodie Foster, and Divine Joy Randolph. I haven't seen The Color Purple or Nyad, so I don't really have any opinion on Jodie Foster or Danielle Brooks. Emily Blunt was good. She's not going to win it. But American Ferrera getting nominated is kind of silly, especially when Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig didn't. We'll get more into those later. But I don't think that it matters at all because Divine Joy Randolph has this locked up. She's had it locked up ever since The Holdovers came out. I think that she probably would have won Best Supporting Actress for just about any performance over the last 5 years or so, because she was just absolutely phenomenal in that movie. If she doesn't win, then I don't think that I'll watch the Oscars again, because she is that deserving of it, and I think that everybody knows that she's going to win. But with America Ferrera getting the nomination here, I think that it's silly. Like, nothing about her performance made you think that is an Oscar-worthy performance. Personally, I think that Viola Davis was more deserving of it. I knew that she was never going to get it. Her performance in Air was spectacular, and I don't think that either of the actresses from May December were really up for a supporting role, because they were both kind of more leads. But I think that both of them, if you wanted to consider either of them a supporting, I think that they deserve it significantly more than America Ferrera. Again, don't really have an opinion on Danielle Brooks or Jodie Foster, but I think that Viola Davis was kind of snubbed from Air, even though that was a sports movie released back in April. I knew that she was never going to have a chance at getting it, but that is something that I think that she deserved more than America Ferrera. And if it wasn't clear, my pick and prediction is Divine Joy Randolph. Going into original song, as somebody who is very musically inclined and plays multiple instruments, I have a lot of opinions. Personally, my favorite song from this list is I'm Just Ken. The other ones are The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot. Have not watched that movie, have no intention on it. I Never Went Away. That is from American Symphony, another song that I really haven't heard. One of the songs from Killers of the Flower Moon I'm not even going to try to pronounce. And then What I Was Made For from Barbie, which probably is going to win. That's my prediction for it to win. But I'm Just Ken is such a catchy song, and I have had stuck in my head multiple times before just because. So I guess I'll say that that's my pick, though. I'm not going to be mad when What I Was Made For eventually does win. Now for original score, we have some opinions here. American Fiction, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I'm going to get it out of the way first. My prediction and pick is Oppenheimer. That score is absolutely amazing. It's phenomenal It's phenomenal in so many ways. The American Fiction score is not something that I really noticed too much in the movie, though. Upon listening to it after the fact, it is a very good score, so I have no issue with that being nominated here. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, what are we doing? I get that we want to keep giving John Williams nominations, but there's no reason to. Boy and the Heron was 10 million times better. I'd honestly say that Maestro's was better too. There are a lot of soundtracks that were better than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I'm going to skip the documentary features because, again, I haven't seen any of those. Moving into international feature film, I haven't seen most of these, or actually I haven't seen any of them. Again, I'm going to go see Zone of Interest. My assumption is that that's going to win. Society of Snow has an outside shot because it's got nominated for a few other things, but my prediction is Zone of Interest. I'm not going to say that it's my pick because, again, I haven't seen it. Then for animated feature film, we have The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Neoma, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I don't know if you can really see it, but I do have a Across the Spider-Verse poster up there. It was one of the best movies of the year. I talked about it in my top 15 of the year. I think it landed in like number 5 or 6. Absolutely phenomenal movie. That is my pick. My prediction is The Boy and the Heron. I'm not too mad about that. If it does win, it was another phenomenal movie. Again, as I just talked about it with the score. Score's phenomenal. The animation in that movie is gorgeous. Either of those two would be nice. I think that the biggest snub here is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think that movie should have gotten in over Elemental because that movie's not the greatest. And the TMNT movie was pretty damn good. For production design, we have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. My pick and prediction for that is Barbie. Napoleon, I could see possibly winning that too, but Barbie, I think, has it on lock. Just the entire Barbie land was insane. I don't think that anything else was better than that. For editing, we have Anatomy of the Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Poor Things. I would assume that Oppenheimer's going to win this, though my personal pick is probably going to be Anatomy of the Fall because I think that the editing in that movie was insanely good. Just again, their ability to build tension in that movie through editing and through how they shot specific scenes was something that I really haven't felt in many other movies. Nominations for sound, we have The Creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest. Again, haven't seen The Zone of Interest. Really like that The Creator got some love here, though I didn't necessarily love that movie. I'm glad that it got nominated because the sound of that movie was phenomenal. Maestro was kind of obvious. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, and this might have just been the theater that I saw it in for the first time. I don't understand why this movie got nominated for sound whatsoever. I honestly thought that the sound in that movie was kind of bad. So to see it get nominated for sound is weird. I think that the biggest snub here is The Iron Claw, and we'll get more into some future snubs of that movie later. But I think that the sound of The Iron Claw was absolutely phenomenal, and I mentioned it in my review. It just made you feel like you were in the ring or that you were in the arena where the wrestling was happening, and just so loud, so encapsulating, and it really made you feel like you were there. So for that not to get nominated is kind of disappointing. My personal pick out of this list is probably, let's say that the Creator. I hope that it wins. I don't think that it will, but it'll probably be Oppenheimer. Next up is visual effects. We have The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, and Napoleon. God, I hope that it's Godzilla -1. That is my pick because the budget that they are able to do it on is absolutely insane. I'm pissed off that that movie hasn't gotten nominated for anything else. That should have gotten a foreign film nomination. That is what I'm mad about. I hope that it wins this so bad. This is like honestly probably the thing that I'm the most passionate about is Godzilla -1 winning visual effects. That is my personal pick. And honestly, it's my prediction too. I'm going to be really mad if it doesn't win because god damn does it deserve it. Next up are the nominations for cinematography. El Condi, I definitely pronounced that wrong. Haven't seen it. Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Maestro getting a nomination here is kind of silly. It wasn't shot particularly great, I think. I think that The Holdovers honestly had significantly better cinematography than it. That is a massive snub here, I think. Also, I think that Anatomy of the Fall is another massive snub here. The way that movie was shot was phenomenal as well. But my pick and prediction is Oppenheimer again. The movie did everything almost near perfectly. It's going to sweep, I think, the majority of the awards. Now we have actor in a lead role with Bradley Cooper, Coleman Domingo, Paul Giamatti, Cillian Murphy, and Jeffrey Wright. I pray to God Bradley Cooper doesn't win it because, again, I did not like Maestro. It is the most Oscar-baity, boring movie of the year. Coleman Domingo, I haven't seen Rustin. That's one that I missed, but I definitely need to go back and watch. Paul Giamatti is my personal pick because I think that he was better than Cillian Murphy. I'm not going to be mad if and what I eventually think will happen when Cillian Murphy wins. But personally, I loved Paul Giamatti and The Holdovers, and I think that his performance was just a little bit better than Cillian's. But again, I'm not going to be mad if Cillian wins. Jeffrey Wright, another really good nomination here for American Fiction. My biggest concern is that Hollywood isn't seeing American Fiction the right way, and I don't know if they're praising it for the right reasons, which is really damn funny because that movie is so satirical in the way that it criticizes just how a bunch of white people view it. So I hope that Hollywood's aware and they're nominating it for the right reasons, and not the reasons that movie was directly making fun of it for. Then actress in her lead role, we have Annette Bening, Lily Gladstone, Sandra Hüller, Carey Mulligan, and Emma Stone. Now, most of the online discourse has been around Margot Robbie getting snubbed from Barbie, and my opinion on that is that I think that she did deserve it over somebody even like Carey Mulligan. I think I've made my opinion on Maestro pretty clear at this point. I haven't seen Nyad, so I don't really have an opinion there, though I've seen a lot of people say that she was snubbed over her as well. Margot Robbie was good in Barbie. I don't really know if she was Best Actress material. I definitely think that she's more deserving than America Ferrera, but for the audiences that are saying like she was put down by the system and it's so hard for women and all this, it's a category specifically for women. So that entire argument is so insane because it's only comparing her against other women. It's not comparing her against men. So to just see the discourse about how hard it is for her to compete in this male-dominated field when it is literally her only against other women. Again, I think that she should have been nominated, but the online outrage and discourse and just Twitter as a whole has kind of gotten a little bit ridiculous about it. Next up is the nominations for director. We have Anatomy of the Fall, then Killers of the Flower Moon by Scorsese, Oppenheimer with Nolan, Yorgos Lanthimos, I definitely said that wrong, with Poor Things, and then Jonathan Glazer with A Zone of Interest. Again, I honestly think that the director of Anatomy of the Fall, Justine Truitt, again, probably pronounced that wrong, but I think that she's significantly more deserving than Greta Gerwig because somebody has to pay for that absolutely god-awful Chevy commercial in the middle of Barbie, because that wasn't very good. This one I feel a little bit more passionate about. I don't think that Greta Gerwig should have got nominated for director in Barbie. I think that, again, Barbie was directed well, but I don't think that it was deserving of a Best Director nomination. But their consolation prize is $1 billion movie. So I think that they're doing okay. And then capping it all off, the big one, Best Picture nominations are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of a Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. Only one I haven't seen here is The Zone of Interest. But to just give, honestly, a quick ranking of these movies, I'm going to go Oppenheimer 1, Holdovers 2. I think I put Anatomy of the Fall 3, Poor Things 4, Killers of the Flower Moon 5, American Fiction 6, and then Maestro 7. And again, haven't seen Zone of Interest, but I would almost guarantee you that it's going to be better than Maestro for me, bare minimum. My prediction here is going to be Oppenheimer. My personal pick would be for The Holdovers. I think that Best Picture should really encapsulate what the year was, and I think that Everything Everywhere All at Once really did that well last year, and I think that Holdovers kind of encapsulates the year of 2023 more than Oppenheimer in a weird way. I think that Oppenheimer is probably going to win it, and for director, I think that Nolan's going to win it, and I think that he should win it. based off of how much he's done in the industry. I think that he should win it just off of that alone, and I think that he's finally going to get a Best Director nod. I hope that The Holdovers wins Best Picture because, again, I feel like it encapsulates the entire year a little bit better than Oppenheimer does in an interesting way. Again, but my prediction is going to be Oppenheimer. It is kind of just the big It is kind of just the big spectacle, the big massive movie of the year. But again, hope that Holdovers wins. It has an outside shot, just like I think Paul Giamatti has an outside shot. But those are my reactions to the Oscar nominations and my Oscar picks and a few of my predictions. Let me know what you think about a few of the snubs. Oh, completely forgot about this. The biggest snub of the year by far was Zac Efron not getting nominated for Best Actor. That is absolute travesty. I completely forgot about that. He is absolutely more deserving than a few of the other aforementioned names. I'd say definitely more than Jeffrey Wright, even though, again, I love his performance. But those are my reactions to the Oscar nominations. Let me know what you thought about the Oscar nominations down in the comments below. Leave me some of your picks and predictions, and we will see you in the next movie review.